Shalom, shalom. We're gonna get started soon. We're gonna get started soon. We're gonna get started soon. Definitely get your notepad ready as we go into these scriptures for the night. All praises to the Most High. Give me a second. We're gonna go live. I mean, we're getting ready to get started real soon. Give me a second. Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High. We're gonna get ahead and get started. Um, Give me 1 second. Just working on the back end. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go on mute. Hey, shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Sorry about that. Salakia. All praises to the Most High. We're gonna go ahead and get started on this part 2 episode of this live class. Um, definitely want to again just reiterate the inspiration of tonight's lesson in this 3-part series on just the illumination, the spiritual illumination, what it means. And this part 2 is called "Be the Light in Darkness." All right, be the light in darkness. So definitely want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai. Just want to thank the Most High for the inspiration of this message. And definitely want to thank for the brothers and sisters that's following these last couple weeks. Just want to just thank y'all for just joining back in on this class. Hopefully last week was definitely something that you need to add into your repertoire of this spiritual journey. And then, of course, this spiritual life that we're going into, and just being a light, man, just being a light to our people, and all people that, if in that matter. But before we get started, and shalom to the brother Shalak, shalom to the brother Shalak. All praises Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatah. Definitely see your comment in the section, King. All praises. So for those that know, we just got out of our unleavened bread last, I believe it was last Friday, last Saturday. The priest was able to bring out some information. The elder was able to bring out some information. Shalom to the elder, shalom to the priest, shalom to all the brothers in Yahweh's camp, all the captains, the officers, soldiers, to the families of Yahweh's camp. Shalom to y'all as well. Shalom to all the camps around this world, right? Around this globe that's pushing this truth and truth and sincerity. Shalom to y'all. Shalom to all the families in Israel that's coming in this walk, that may not be in this walk, that's still coming in this thing, that has questions, has concerns. Listen, shalom to y'all as well. You in a safe space. And of course, shalom to the brothers and sisters that's coming in this truth. So we're not going to go, we're going to get right into it. We're not going to, do too much. But again, just want to put a memo out. May 30th, Yahweh's Camp will be hosting First Fruits. May 30th, we're going to have First Fruits over in Raleigh, North Carolina. So if you're in the Carolinas, if you're in the Virginia area, the West Virginia area, the Tennessee area, the Georgia area, come on out and fellowship with your brothers and sisters. We're going to do that again May 30th. So it's going to be a very good, insightful time to be with our brothers and sisters on these high holy days. But without much further ado, all right, I want to start off with the goal of this lesson. All right, the goal of tonight's class. All right, what is the goal? All right, the goal is to deliver the gospel to the Israelites. All right, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of indigenous descent. The goal is to deliver this gospel. This series is dedicated to y'all to learn how to be great ambassadors, to be great diplomats of this truth. All right, there's no way around it. We have to be great ambassadors and diplomats and this truth. All right, please like, subscribe, and share this video as we get into it. I think it'll be, I know it'll be insightful to all my brothers and sisters. Yes, you sisters as well, on delivering this gospel to our people who may not know who they are, that's still celebrating Christmas and voting and not doing the commandments, not following these laws and statutes. We have to be ambassadors to our people, especially nowadays, especially, no time like the present, as they always say. So to be a light to our people, all right. Um, we last week we went into the light, right? The definition of light, the biblical definition of light, and how it paralleled with actual light, sunlight, from the sun, light from the lamp, light from fire, just the benefits, the biblical aspect, and we coupled that with the biblical concept of light, which was wisdom, decorum, obedience, etc. If you haven't, please go back last week and go watch our live video that we did last week. Excuse me, on the light. And so this week, you already have the foundation of the definition of light. Next, or today, and then going into next week, we're going to go and show how we can showcase that light to our people, right? Showcase our light to our friends and families, how to be, the number one person to go to when it comes to the Bible, right? You should be able to have a grasp of knowledge on this. That way, when things come out, things are coming on, things are happening, right? People are looking to you as a guide, as a shepherd, right? And that's what we're going to go into. Shalom to the people coming in. Lion of Judah, shalom. All praises, shalom, shalom. So The idea when it comes to being a light bearer in this truth isn't to be right all the time. You're not always right. You don't want to always be right, right? The idea for this is to as we're all learning, we're all growing, we're all maturing as young babes, right? And then we're all maturing and becoming adults in this truth spiritually. A lot of us are adults and we're still going into the young phase growing up in this walk. So the idea isn't to always be right, right? The idea is for us to be an actual source of inspiration in this walk. When people receive light from you, all right, do they feel convicted? Do they change? All right, I want to get the scripture real quick in Jude. All right, I want to get Jude chapter 1, verse 22. Let's get the book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 22. And this is important when it comes to, um, when people see that you're an Israelite, are they turned off? Are they surprised? Is there a wow factor? A lot of dirt on the Hebrew Israelite name. A lot of people are taken aback when you wearing your fringes and you're pro black, pro Latino, pro Native American, and understanding that people are going to give you some flack, they're going to give you some kickback. So we got to be able to stay in the spirit. All right, we got to be able to be inspirations, and not just know-it-alls. A lot of us are know-it-alls, and through the spirit, we're going to learn. And this is a class, right? This is a crash course class on how to properly deliver this gospel so that people want to do it. All right. This is Jude chapter 1, verse 22. It says, and some have compassion, and of some have compassion, making a difference. Stop right there, right? A lot of us make a difference through compassion. It's not always rah, 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 rowdy, 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 and being a high wired live firecracker, right? Some of us have compassion, making a difference. Verse 23 says, and others save with fear, pulling them out of the fire, hating even the garment spotted by the flesh, right? That's very important because, as Israelite teachers, as Israelite men of the Lord, as Israelite women, um, some days you're going to have high days, low days. You're going to have days where you're not feeling up to it, but you still got to deliver. A lot of us don't know the burden you take on when you teach the Bible, right? As soon as you're in an upset mood, people expect you to be like a robot and always be, in the joyful spirit and being festive and happy. And we're humans. Sometimes we fall short. Sometimes we're not in a good mood. Sometimes we're moody, we're cranky, but we still are required to do what? To deliver this light. All right. So and a lot of us need to have that, right? That mindset. So this is Jude 122. And if some have compassion, making a difference, and others save with fear, pulling them out of the fire. Now, which uh how do we know which avenue to take, right? Are we going to save with compassion? Are we going to save with fear? Well, this is what this class is dedicated to. The class is dedicated to how to be an effective, if influential, inspirational, effective teacher. So the question going into tonight's lesson is, what does it look like to live in the light and how can it be infectious to others? Right? What does it mean to live in the light and how do we make this infectious to others? How do we make other people gravitate to what we're speaking on? And then not only that, but how do we make other people want to deliver the light? Again, if you don't know what we're talking about, this is a three-part series. Last week, I highly encourage you to go back, watch the lesson, take notes, um, get the inspiration, get the breakdown, get the understanding, and then come back and listen to part two, episode two, which we're going to get into right now. So let's go. Let's kick this thing off. All right. So number one, I'm gonna split this up in different sections. Section number one, we as the Israelite man, woman, and child that are in this truth, that is walking in this walk, that's fighting this fight, that's going through trials and tribulations, you are the light. We are the light of the Most High, right? And this is very important because when I first came in this truth, I actually thought things were going to slow down, get better for me. Things are going to work out, no more trials. And I was wrong, right? I was wrong. Actually, when you come into this truth, hey, shalom, shalom, to everybody coming in. Again, please like, subscribe, share the video. Very important. But when we first come in this walk, and this may be my experience, but I think we all thought that this thing was just going to be a piece of cake. It was going to be a walk down the park, and it's everything but that, right? When you come in this truth, and when you first come in, you might not experience it. Everybody has their own experience. But one thing I will always say is that one of the byproducts, one of the gifts, one of the rewards that I get, that we all get from going through trials, going through these hurdles, going through the afflictions, going through this beast system of Babylon, is that we are also the light to the people who don't know, right? We are also the people that are the resources, the biblical encyclopedia to your family, your friends. They may not agree with you, but one thing they'll tell you is that that brother, that sister, they know that Bible. They know what they talking about. All right. So now we're going to turn that knowledge and that wisdom, and we're going to make the goal of this lesson is to make you become more fluent with how this gospel is spread and how this sticks to people. Right. It ain't about always what you know. It's about how you convey this information. All right. So let's get Matthew 5 verse 14. Let's get the words of Christ, Hamashiach Yahawashi. This is Matthew 5, verse number 14. It says, Ye are the light of the world, a city. Well, let me read it again. Ye are the light of the world. Let me just stop right there, right? You, me, we, right, are the light of this world, right? The way we talk, the way we carry ourselves, our frustration levels, our way of handling conflicts, our way of being an inspiration and being a beacon of hope, right? That's the light of the world. Then he says, a city that is set on a hill cannot be hid, right? When you put a city on the hill because of lights, because of activity, because of commotion, you can't hide that because it's for people to what? For people to see. This is for the people to experience, to see, to understand that there's a city there. A city set on a hill cannot be hid, the same way that we, as a light to the world, can't be hid. Verse 15 says, Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Right? Which is very important because if you have love for your brother, if you have love for your family, for your Israelite family, right? Even your actual biological family, which we're all, biologically related going down the line. The point I'm making is you should have enough love, enough compassion, enough courage to teach our people, right? To want to be a change in our history, right? Think about that. You could be an influential change in the history of your people just by being a light. It might not be a big percentage, but it's still going to be something that is effective, right? And that's all you can ask for. How effective can I be in this walk? How effective can I be in this truth? How much of a light can I be? It's not about teaching on the streets all the time. You can be a light to your people when you go to work, when you in class, when you go to school, when you on the bus, when you in traffic. You can be a light. You never know who's watching. And the more people that wake up and the more that these fringes become more popular, the more you're going to have that proverbial bullseye on your back. All praises to the Most High, right? So let's read on. Yahweh Shai says this in verse 15, Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Verse 16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works. We went through this last week. The understanding of light in this context was the good works, your laws, statutes, and commandments, how you convey and how you understand and navigate life here in America, here in Babylon, and still keep the commandments, your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. All right, I want to also move on over to Philippians 2 and 15. Let's get Philippians chapter 2, verse 15. It says this. Matter of fact, let me start at verse number 14. Paul says, do all things without murmurings and disputing. This is a way that you can showcase light. Do all things without murmurings and disputings. Remember back, I want to take us back thousands of years ago, and the Israelites was in the wilderness, walking through the desert, right? Being attacked by other nations, being attacked by serpents, people hungry, starving, it's hot, you're out of your comfort zone. Imagine all the murmurings that was taking place. Imagine all the people that was upset that Moses took them this way and how they could do better and how he's not leading them right. These are murmurings. Is this a display of lightness? Is murmuring a display of lightness or a display of darkness? Right? It's darkness. Nothing positive comes from murmurings and disputings. These are the things that hold people down. Murmuring and disputing and talking ill about somebody is also infectious. Those traits stick on the people and it brings morale down, right? These happen in camps all the time. This happens in congregations all the time. Murmurings and disputings happen at work, happen everywhere you go. It's always going to be people that's uncomfortable, that's unhappy, and these things also become infectious. So darkness can be infectious. Why can't light? Light can also be infectious. Look at verse 15. Philippians 2:15 says this, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation. Remember, the title of tonight's lesson is Be the Light in Darkness. We are around darkness all the time as Israelites. Our job is to be a little bit of light, a little beacon of hope for those that are in dark, to illuminate those around you, to glow, right? Now Paul says, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, the same thing going on back then was taking place back then as well. I mean, now it's a parallel, right? But the same thing that was going on back then is going on now. We're in a perverse and crooked what? In a perverse and crooked nation. And he still says to be blameless and harmless. What Paul is saying is to be a light in the midst of darkness, among whom you shine as lights in the world, right? It's our job to be that light in the world. It's our job to be blameless. When people are murmuring, we got to find ways to fix that, right? A lot of this stuff goes back to being circumspect. Am I a light in darkness? Do I have what it takes to be a light in darkness? All right, moving on. So we're going to shine as lights. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha, chapter 5, verse 6. And one thing I want to also include in this lesson tonight is we're going to get extra biblical content, extra biblical understanding, mostly from the science side when it comes to the psychology and sociology and things like that, right? So we're going to bring in some information that correlates what we're talking about in this book. All praises to the Most High. All praises. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 6. Therefore have we erred from the way of the truth, and the light of righteousness hath not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. Right? So when we going into the understanding of wisdom or lack of wisdom, right? This is again where what I'm doing right now is I'm slowly going from last week, and we're going to taper off, and then we're going to build into this week, right? And I just want to just make sure that we um, hit on last week's points, or summarize last week's points, and then we're going to go ahead and kind of merge that into this week's points. All right. So I'm gonna read that again. Um, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 6. It says, "Therefore have we erred from the way of the truth and the light of righteousness," which is the law and obedience and everything that comes with that, right? "Have not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us." All right. So our talking point, or our teaching point, that I want to put a stop real quick, right? I want to go into a teaching point. Teaching point number one: we don't turn on light when it's convenient. Okay. We don't turn on light when it's easy to do. A lot of us are streaky when it comes to having light. When everything is custom made, hey, we bringing out light. We doing the things that is need to be said, and we are very pleasing and very happy and very approachable. But you turn it on by walking in obedience. That's how you turn the light on. You're walking in obedience. It's not necessarily, light isn't always given through the mouth. Life is also given through our actions, how we display ourselves. Are we easily frustrated, right? Can Are we able to be uh um sociable and people friendly? You can't give light if you don't like people. If you don't love your brother, you don't love your sister, how are you going to be a true light bearer? All right. So you walk in it by obedience. People see and follow our life in this teaching, right? Our life is the teaching. People aren't really looking at what you say, how you teach it. When I first came into this truth, all right, I always tell the story. I left, as a regular non-Israelite in my mind, and I didn't know what an Israelite was, and I'm, living life, and then I came back in 6 weeks back to work, right? And I got my fringes on, I'm wearing a beard, um, and people noticed right away that something was different with me, right? Not necessarily a bad thing. May not have, they didn't know what it was. They just knew I was different on day one, I came back to work. So it's about my walk. It's about how I carried myself, not necessarily about what I was teaching, what I was trying to get you to see, pulling you over to the side. And you got them brothers and sisters that will be in your instant messenger and be in your inbox, precept and information here and PowerPoints here and all that. And it's not necessarily done that way, right? Light is really given, and my wife will tell you, light is really given and received by how you change, how they see that change in you, right? And that's what helped her. That's what helps all of us become students and follow, right? You want to follow that light. All right. So, part number two, the expression of light. So, we as Israelites are the light. Now, how is it expressed? How do we express the light? What is the expression of this light? How do we showcase it? Wisdom, right? How do we apply truth? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. All right, so let's start off with wisdom, and how do we apply this truth? This is the book of Deuteronomy, all right, chapter 4, verse 5, and it says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh your power, or Yahweh my power, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations." Okay, let me stop right there. So we see right here in verse 6 that these laws, statutes, and commandments is our wisdom and our understanding. that when we go into the sight of the other nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. See, we also have to understand that when you showcase this light to you and your people and your family, we're also a light to the other nations as well, showing them that we are more civilized, we are more dedicated, we Israelites are more in tune with our God. We are more dedicated and more loyal to our God, right? We are more um we have just looking at the laws of the Most High. I always encourage people to go through each and every law, and you'll see that there's an answer in this commandment for cleanliness, for dietary, for civil laws, morality, right? Ceremonial laws, how our people are just always just better because we have the laws of God. Okay. So this understanding is going to reflect how we are compared to the other people. Look at verse 7. For what nation is there so great? This is what they're going to say about you. This is what they said about us back then. For what nation is there so great who have God so near or nigh unto them as Yahweh our power is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgments, so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? These are the things that these other nations have always said about us. They just forgot, right? The same way that you and I have forgot. But us being light bearers, being filled with light and being illuminated and showcasing that light is always going to resonate. And this is this lesson that's going to get you through the long run. This is going to get you into where you need to go 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. This is not some flash in the pan lesson tonight. This is something that's going to get you through throughout your life, Lord willing. All right. All right. Let's move on. So we got that in Deuteronomy 4. I want to get Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 1, verse 26. All right, some may call it Sirach 1 and 26. And it says this: If thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Most High shall give her unto thee. All right, if you desire wisdom, you keep the commandments. This makes you eligible to teach these commandments and to teach this law. Wisdom shows others how to move in real life. I'm going to say that again. It's easy to see how people were living back when they didn't have bills. I always talk about this. You don't really see phone bills in the Bible, right? You don't really see a car payment in the Bible, all right? You don't see employment where they make you go to a holiday party. You don't see all these things in the Bible. So how do we navigate in 2026 with a Bible that was written for people thousands of years ago? Well, you got to have wisdom, right? You got to have wisdom. You got to have discretion. And that's what this is about, right? Verse 26 says in Sirach 126, if you desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give her wisdom. The Lord will give you wisdom. So now you say to yourself, and we did a lesson on this about being proactive in the truth, right? What does that look like? How do I be proactive in this walk? What am I doing? If I have a calendar, right, and it has all these days lined up, can I become more effective and be proactive and get these days off early, right? But these are the extra steps that we have to take because our forefathers and foremothers didn't have rent to pay. They didn't have a water bill. So you need wisdom to know how to navigate in today's society. All right. All right, moving on. So here's the outside insight. So I told you earlier, we're going to get some insight from extra biblical commentary, extra biblical ideas. So this is from Behavior of psychology. All right. So this is psychologists that are is saying what I'm about to read to you. Again, behavior of psychology says people trust those who show consistent good judgment. Read that again. People trust those who show consistent good judgment under pressure, not just knowledge, right? If you're just showcasing a bunch of knowledge, but there's no empathy with the people you're teaching, then you're just a know-it-all, right? People don't trust a know-it-all. People trust the people that's been there, that's done it, that's been in that, that's relatable, that's charismatic, right? All these things that come with it. So I'm gonna read it again. People trust those who show consistent good judgment under pressure, not just knowledge, right? And that's important, right? Very important. Do I go to work? Do I not? Well, I got to pay this bill, but the Lord said don't work, right? What does wisdom tell me? Right? So these are things that you gotta consider. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Staying calm in conflicts, right? Staying calm in conflicts. Something comes up. Are you a hothead? Are you ready to go fight? How are you able to properly be a light bearer if you got an anger issue? And people know that. I'm not messing with what he talking about. This dude always going off on me because of what I was eating. He ain't got no patience, right? He just became an Israelite. Now he want to sit on his high horse and talk down to me. And we was just in some sin last year. The point I'm making is, um, you got to meet people where they at, right? Can you stay calm in conflicts, right? Um, can you make wise decisions? I think about for you sisters out there. You out with your friends, you just came in this walk, and a lot of these girls want to get with these guys and they want to, do what they want to do and they want to live in the world. And as a woman that's in the truth, you got to ask yourself, I know they're watching me. I know they're looking at me. How can I be a good sister and still keep my friends and not be that one, right? These are wisdom. These are things that needs wisdom, right? Shalom, follow brothers 161, fellow brothers 161. Shalom, shalom, shalom. So, so the point I'm making is, it's not easy. You're gonna need wisdom. You can't be a know-it-all. You're gonna need to know how to make good decisions. People are watching you. If you may not think they're watching you, but they're watching you. The good ones are watching you, right? No emotional reaction. How about that? How about that? No emotional reaction. When you first come in this talk, when you first come in this walk, how many dinner table conversations about the Bible have you had with family? And then how many times did it end in some sort of verbal uh spat, some verbal fighting, some mudslinging, ad homs being thrown, and and all this different wicked darkness that comes out of the conversation about the Bible, right? We talking about something that's supposed to be the good news, and it becomes a all out verbal brawl because we have to have emotional clarity, emotional intelligence. We're going to get into that, what emotional intelligence is. So no emotional reaction or overreaction. All right. All right, let's move into knowledge. All right. Let's move into knowledge. What you know of God, right? That's kind of what I want to say. What do we know of the Most High? Let's get Hosea 4 and 6. All right, let's get a classic. Hosea 4 and 6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Right? A lot of our people are destroyed because we don't have the knowledge. We don't have what it takes to really be light bearers if we lack knowledge. I'm not talking about uh I got a master's degree. I'm not talking about my PhD. That's not knowledge, right? That's education. That's education. I'm talking about, and that's scholastic education. I'm talking about knowledge, the knowledge that Yahushua had, the knowledge that Solomon had, and all of the great men of the past, right? So it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. One of the characteristics of the priest is to be a light giver, whether it's guidance, counsel, understanding. That's the job of the priest, right? One of the jobs. All right, let's read on. It says, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. All right, so that was Hosea 4 and 6. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 17. Now, right now, we're just going into knowledge. All right. This is a subsection of light, knowledge, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 17. It says, for he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements. All right, the beginning, ending, and midst of the times, the altercations of the turning of the sun and the change of seasons, the circuits of years, and the positions of the stars. So you see right here that Solomon is saying that the knowledge he possessed was like basic elements, the things that made the world go, right? The elements, the sciences, astronomy, astrology, all these things, right? Solomon knew because he had knowledge. He had, and this was able to help him be what's the word I'm looking for? You're suitable to give this light, right? They people look at you as eligible to give light because you had this understanding and this knowledge. You're not a know-it-all. You just know what you're talking about. All right. Now watch this. For our outside insight right here. Here's our outside insight. Again, outside insight is information and extra biblical information that's coming outside of the Bible. All right. Again, this is going back to the first source. It says people retain. This is according to the psychology institution. People retain 10 to 20% of what they hear, but more retention is what we live out. I'm gonna read it again. Very important. And see, once you learn how people learn, it's easier to give this information to people. Once we learn how people learn, it's easier to know how to convey the information. If I'm just talking to you and just hitting you with precepts and information and all these different PowerPoints, and I'm digging up some stuff from, but I'm just giving it to you, but I'm not telling you how to live it, then you're only going to get 10 to 20%. Again, people retain 10 to 20% of what they hear. So all the stuff, most of what you're saying is going in one ear and out the other. 10% is something they hear. It may be something they disagree with. It may be something they may not like. So out of that 10%, another 50% of that is probably something that they don't like. They don't really care. So it's either going to be a fruitful conversation out of the 10% they hear, or it's going to be a bad conversation out of that 10%. But as people, we retain more from what we live. That's why our lived experiences are the things that really help us shape who we are today. It ain't about what you learn, it's about what we've experienced in our life, right? So that was our outside insight. How about this? Don't overload with scriptures. A lot of us are like a drum roll when it comes to these scriptures, right? You call out 10, you only gonna read 5, right? Nothing wrong with it, but sometimes, excuse me, sometimes our people are so overwhelmed with this information, that this light that you're giving them, that you could overdo it. You could overwater that plant. You drown them out. You having them drinking from that proverbial water hose. How about we teach in moments that matter, not necessarily hitting them with scripture after scripture after scripture. Elder Zaquan, you know, he told me something when I first came in this truth, and it was feeding people with teaspoons, not spoons, not tablespoons, not big spoons, teaspoons, right? And a lot of us have to have that mindset. You almost want to be alluring a little bit, where you're giving them a little bit and then saying, listen, the rest of the stuff you're talking about, we can go into at a later time. You don't have to do everything in one time. Slowly bring him into this thing, right? Don't overload with scriptures. Teaching moments that matter. You at the store, your boy may want to steal something. You at the club, your girl, your home girl, right? Some of you sisters, you may have your friend that may be into some stuff that may be ratchet, that may be in sin. That's when you give that light. That's when you convey that information. All right. In moments that matter, it's going to go a longer way. It's going to be more sticky, right? It's going to be more there for you. All right. So we did knowledge, we did wisdom. Now, how about understanding, discernment, and timing? Very, very key. Discernment and timing. I always encourage brothers and sisters to better yourself, right? Know how to be better in discerning the time, discerning when to speak, when not to speak, when to say something, when to hold your tongue. That's the wisdom. We can read it all day when we read the wisdom of Solomon, when we read the Proverbs, when we read Ecclesiastes. But in real life, can we practice it? In real life, can we apply what we learn and then make it work? That's the best way to learn. Remember, you're going to learn more from when you live out, not from what they tell you or what they teaching you or what they reading to you or what you're listening to. All right, so let's get this Proverbs 4 and 7. Let's get this in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Right? And that's one of my favorite scriptures right there is get wisdom, get understanding. You got to catch that. You got to find it. Right? Well, let me see something real quick. View message. I always got. Oh man. So Randy K8 says, I wish God loved white people, but I'm just a evil white devil. Well, we're gonna go ahead and hide that. All right. Well, Randy, this lesson is about giving light. So we're gonna hide that message because yeah, that's unfruitful in this chat here, right? All right. We're gonna move on. So let's Proverbs 4 and 7. We gotta get understanding. All right, we're not gonna let nobody slow this progress down. All right, we're gonna keep this thing going. That's nothing but a test, right? That's nothing but a test. All right, it threw me off a little bit. Let's get Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 19 and 24. All praises to the Most High. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 19, verse 24. It says, he that hath small understanding and feareth God is better than one that hath much wisdom and transgresseth the law of the Most High. This is a cut, right? This is a cut. This is a cut to a lot of people, right? The ones that fear the Most High and got a little bit of understanding is way better than the ones that have all this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but is a lawbreaker. All right? Is a lawbreaker. So again, we must chase understanding the same way we chasing anything else that's important to us. All right? We gotta chase that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. All right, that was Ecclesiasticus in your Apocrypha chapter 19, verse 24. Some appear wise, but they lack understanding. You know how wise some of the other nations appear to be when it comes to their books, but they lack the understanding of the Most High. All right. Um, I mean, hey Randy, if you got any questions, you can hold it to the end of this class. But in the meantime, just sit back and have a little bit of yeah, I don't really know what he's saying, but just yeah, let's just stay on topic, all right? All praises. All right, so let's go back into another. So with that understanding, right? About understanding, let's go into another extra biblical outside insight. All right. Outside insight says this: emotional intelligence. All right. Emotional intelligence. All right. High is reaching a higher impact on communicators and how you read the room before speaking. All right. So emotional intelligence, researching on having a higher impact on communicators and how we read the room as communicators. We must read the room before speaking, right? As a matter of fact, let's get that classic in Ecclesiasticus 11. Ecclesiasticus 11 and 7 says, "Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first and then rebuke." Right? So a lot of us are quick to jump, right? But we have to understand first. Um, read the room, have a little patience, have a little bit of emotional intelligence when it comes to that, right? Um, all right, so we're gonna move on. All praises to the Most High, fellow brothers. 161. That's right. That's something that we all be missing. Hey, listen, show me what classes you could take in college on how to teach Israelites. Right? Show me a class that you could take in high school or a PhD scholarship that you can get on how to teach blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that everything that they were taught on how to serve God was wrong, and that you got to be like me and keep these commandments and do this and do that. It's impossible. It's hard to do it. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing, that we're teaching, we're still, as they say, building this plane as we're flying it. All right. All right, so let's move on. All praises. Let's move on. Um, so obedience. All right. We went over that last week. Again, if you haven't watched last week's video, obedience was a characteristic of light. Obedience, your daily walk. Right? Your daily walk is an influence. People that are disciplined. There's people that wake up 4 in the morning, go to the gym, and they do this all the time. Go to the gym, come home, shower, get the kids ready for school, make breakfast, go to work, come home, and they got it like that, right? And you see their influence, you see that they're disciplined in their daily walk, right? It's a discipline. And this is something that some of the things that, in my opinion, I like to be around greatness. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I like to be around greatness. I like to know what the greats do. I like reading stories on how the greats were able to, be disciplined and lock in on certain aspects, and they got a thing that they trying to get to, and they just become just very even kill with it, and they just get it done. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 1, right? Very, very popular chapter in this book. Chapter 28, verse 1 in the book of Deuteronomy says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently." How do we hearken diligently? By being obedient unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that Yahweh thy power will set thee on high above all nations on the earth. This is our daily walk, being obedient, right? There's blessings that come with obedience. There's things that we can look back and say, the Lord spared me because I was obedient. I work in a very dangerous part sometimes, and the Lord allows me to leave before shots ring out. It just happened just last weekend. I was able to do my job, all right, get off the street before these shots rang out because of obedience. Most High willing, all right? This is Baruch chapter 4, verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God and the law that endureth forever. We're talking about the laws of Moses, the laws of the Most High. right? All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Keeping these commandments allows you to live, right? If you break the commandments, you die. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof. All right. And then it says that thou mayest be illuminated. So you see right here how obedience is synonymous with us being illuminated and being able to be lit, right? To lighten ourselves. And then with that lightning, that illumination, your colleagues, your friends, Lord willing, is going to see that, want to implement it because, like me, like all of us, we just want to be around greatness, right? We talked about this last week. If I want to be a millionaire, I'm around millionaires. If I want to be enlightened, I'm around other enlightened individuals. This is why organizations, this is why our camps, our congregations, this is why it's important for us to be united, to be cordial with each other, to love one another, man, right? All that come to see it should come to life and live. Teaching point: obedience is the strongest form of light. All right, I'm gonna say it again. Obedience is the strongest form of light because when you're obedient, everything else falls in what? They fall in place. When you're obedient, everything seems to work out. It's easier to have this thing work out if the foundation, if the base is obedience. All right. People do not respect you if your teaching is hypocritical. If I'm telling you don't do this and I'm doing what not to do, you'll never respect my movement. You'll never see that. You'll never, this is why we must stay grounded in our faith, man. We got to stay dedicated to the cause. No matter how hard it may get, you may flip, you may trip, you may stumble, you may fall. Your family, they're waiting on you to come out to those pagan holy days. But you keep not showing up. And then in return, how many of us is inviting our family to the new moons? How many of our people are, instead of saying, no, I'm not going to Christmas, but do you want to come to Feast of Dedication? Do you want to come to Hanukkah? Come on over instead of saying, hey, no Easter. Hey, come on over to Passover, right? Start offering solutions. Start offering suggestions to supplement that. Don't just say, no, I'm not coming around. Put the pressure back on them. Hey, I'm not going as pagan. You coming to the new moon? You coming to the first fruits? What's up with that? What's up with tabernacles? You coming out? Right? So offer a suggestion, right? All right. So people don't respect if your teaching is hypocritical. They're not gonna respect you. Good luck trying to get them in the truth. If they catch you doing something, you mean this is why it's important for us to really be ready to teach. If you're struggling with something, if you're dealing with something, if you're brand new into the truth, I always say, if you are brand new into this truth, you don't need to teach. You need to learn because a lot of your discernment is off. A lot of your emotional intelligence is off. A lot of your emotional reaction is off because you're so hyped up on zeal, you're 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 losing the goal, which is to bring people in this thing slowly. So if you're brand new to this truth, I highly encourage you to not turn people off by going out there and go teaching. Don't go out there and start trying to tell mom and dad and brothers and sisters. Just let them see by how you walk, right? If you really about that walk, they're gonna really learn by how you present yourself in your actions, not what's coming out your mouth. All right. Um, where we at? The next one. I forgot the number count. Self-esteem. Self-esteem. We learned about this in kindergarten, preschool, first grade, second. Self-esteem, right? How we identify in Yahweh. Not just, oh, I'm a doctor, right? And I feel good about being a doctor. No. How is your self-esteem spiritually? Do you feel comfortable with where you are at today in your walk, right? I'm always like, nah, I got to get better. I'm never resting on what I'm at. I'm always like, yo, I got to get better. I got to improve. We all should have that, right? But self-esteem, how we view ourselves. I got news for you, black man. You made in the image of the Most High. I got news for you, black man. You are made in the image of the Most High. Let's start our self-esteem by saying that. When I look in the mirror, I see the Most High. I'm made in this image. This is Genesis 1 and 27. Matter of fact, let me get verse number 27. Yeah. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Black woman, you are also made in the image of God. So there's our self-esteem should be that much better knowing that, right? Every time you wake up and you see that you made in the image of the Most High, that's a feather in your cap before you even get out the door. Before you leave out the door, you understand I am made in the image of the Most High. Matter of fact, let's get Psalm 82, right? Let's get a classic. Let's get a classic real quick. Psalm 82 and 6 says, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. Let's start our self-esteem by waking up knowing who we are. We wake up, yo, everybody else can't say this. Everybody else not an Israelite. Now my self-esteem is that much better, right? Now I'm able to say to myself, man, I feel good. My light is really glowing, right? You are made in the image of the Elohim or the Elohim. Let's get Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 28. Watch this. This is Ecclesiasticus 10:28. My son, glorify thy soul in meekness and give it honor according to the dignity thereof. Glorify yourself, right? Know that. Know that who you are. Glorify thy soul in meekness and give it honor according to the dignity thereof. Who will justify him that sinneth against his own soul? And who will honor him that dishonoreth his own life? These are good questions, right? Honor comes through humility and conduct. Yeah. Yeah. Your honest, your listen, humility and conduct, your honor is gonna come through that. It ain't about what you how many views you got. It ain't about how many debates you won. It ain't about none of that. It ain't about how many breakdowns you got, how many views you got. That don't matter, right? It's gonna come through conduct. How do you conduct yourself? Our light or our confidence in this aspect is rooted in obedience and our lineage. Our lineage. That is where your confidence is rooted in. Knowing who you're a daughter of, knowing that who you're a son of. They called you black because they didn't listen. They called you black. They called you a property of Spain. They called you a North American savage because they knew that if you start calling yourself a child of Levi, a tribe of Judah, the tribe of Manasseh, Issachar, Ephraim, Naphtali, Benjamin, Reuben, Gad, Simeon, they knew that if that was the case, a lot of us would go back to knowing that we are actually better than what they portray us to be. And as a result, then what? You're going to have a lot more self-esteem. You're going to be self-aware of who you are and the power that you're capable of. All right. And the light that you can display. So here's an outside insight from an outside biblical representative. It says, people listen to secure and sound teachers. People listen to secure and sound teachers, not arrogant teachers. The arrogant teachers are good for likes and views and clicks and comments. People listen to secure and sound teachers. Very, very, very important. When you're secure and sound, This is what I'm saying. If you're wanting, if your idea is to showcase light, there's things that you can learn. Articulation training. There's things you can learn how to convey messages and information. Things that you can learn how to practice public speaking, Toastmasters, um, being a better public speaker. These are things that will help you in your ministry, in your journey on how to be one of the better teachers. Because let's just be honest, you threw the arrogance away. You stop precepting everybody to death, and you met people where they are at, and then learn how to teach that. But this is things that you can learn. Use your resources to learn how to be more influent and more effective. All right. Everybody else doing it, right? You think these people that are influencers sit back and just show up and influence people? No, they train. They become masters of their craft on how to become more affluent, right? Affluent. Section 3: how light actually impacts others. Ooh, very important. This is really a good part right here. So really listen and hone in. How does light attract others? How does it impact others? Light attracts, right? Like a moth to a flame. Y'all heard that before. Light brings people in, brings things in. People are looking for light. If you're lost out at sea, what are you looking for? A lighthouse to help attract you how to come in, right? So light is attractive. If you a teacher and your light or your message isn't attractive, you got to go back to the drawing board. I know we watch videos and we watch this guy teach and we watch how this guy brought it out. He got 200,000 views. But again, is it to be famous? Is it to be right? Or is it to attract with light? Right? So we want to attract with light. I don't care how many views I get. If I get one brother or one sister to learn this tonight, I done my job, right? I done my job. Then I can go back to learning more, right? Or how to become more better. Let's get John 12 and 32. All right. Let's get John chapter 12, verse 32. Is your ministry attractive? Yes or no? That's something you got to ask yourself. Is your model attractive? Jeremy Jemison says, may I ask, God said, let there be light, yet made the sun, moon, and stars on the fourth day. What was the light? I don't understand. Yeah, go back and watch last week's video. Last week's video, we definitely go into that in Genesis 1 and 3 about that light not necessarily being the sun, moon, and stars, but that light really was knowledge, wisdom, understanding, obedience, and the things that come with that, right? So, um, go back and watch last week's video, the part one of this series, and it goes more into detail. But just to answer your question, um, which is a good question, right? We always ask that to the people who have a basic understanding on this book. What is that light? And we definitely go into that into last week's video. So yeah, the water for that question. But yeah, essentially the answer you're looking for is going to be, matter of fact, I'll just go it. So let's just get Genesis 1 and 3. This is Genesis 1 and 3 says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light, right? And of course, it's not talking about the sun, moon, and stars, because when you go to verse 14 of Genesis 1, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let verse 15, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So verse 3, and matter of fact, let me just get that in Ecclesiasticus 24, in your Apocrypha. It says, wisdom shall praise herself This is wisdom of, I mean, Ecclesiasticus chapter 24, verse 1. Wisdom shall praise herself and shall glory in the midst of her people. Sorry. Verse 2. In the congregation of the Most High shall she open her mouth in triumph before his power. I came out of the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth as a cloud. Right? So you're seeing wisdom being in that creation part as well. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 26. All right. And we go more into detail on that last week. It says, wait, that's Ecclesiasticus. Hold on. Wisdom of Solomon 7:26 says, for she is the brightness, is talking about wisdom, for she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of God, and the image of his goodness. And being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in herself, she maketh all things new, and in all ages entering into holy souls. So in all ages was talking about wisdom, which is in the beginning of time, right? Enter into holy souls. She maketh them friends of God and prophets. So that's talking about wisdom. All right. There's more into that, but again, for the sake of the class, I highly recommend going back and watch episode 1 of last week. All right. Where did we leave off at? Section 3, right? How light actually impacts others. How does your light impact others? Ask yourself that. When people leave my lesson, when I'm out there teaching on the street, do they want to fight me? Right? Do they want to fight me, or do they? Yeah, the water. Yeah. I in the bar, Jeremy. Do they want to fight me, or do they feel inspired? These are questions you got to ask yourself. The Israelites have made known that a lot of people want to fight us after we teach, after we out there on the streets, because for whatever reason. But I think the main reason is because we're not really teaching with sincerity. We're not teaching to be beacons of light and inspiration. A lot of us, man, a lot of us are teaching because we have a know-it-all spirit. We know the breakdowns. We know everything that you need to know. And we're going to give you 18 scriptures for you to go study and spin your head around, and then tell you, your breath stink, your shoes are ran over, your girl ugly, all that, right? And that's just not a light way of teaching. That's not teaching with truth, sincerity, and in light. I want my people to get it. I want my people to understand it by any means. All right, so John 12 and 32 says this, and this is Christ. It says, and I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. Right? He says, if I be lifted on the earth, to draw all men unto me, right? We got to have that same hope, right? When I teach, I want people to be drawn to me like light, right? I'm a beacon of light, and I want the people to gravitate to me. A lot of this is a little bit of game. Look, when Paul said that your speech be filled with grace, seasoned with grace, he's talking about being able to. Nowadays they say riz, right? They riz and risener, but it's more so about how do I spiritually have that riz where folks really want to understand what I'm saying, right? I talk to people at my job all the time. They don't know I'm an Israelite. They don't know I'm a Hebrew Israelite. They don't know I'm a on the streets, and they don't know that. I don't have to tell them that to get the message across. What helps me out is me being a light bearer, being illuminated, right? Let's get Isaiah 60 and 3, right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 3. And you don't gotta, go out there with your 12 tribe sign and pass out flyers and all. I get it. I get it. You got jobs, but you can always teach by actions. You can teach, and they don't even know you giving a lesson based on how you just present it, right? How do I present it, right? How do I display it? So let's get this real quick. Isaiah 60 and 3 says, let me start at 1. Arise, shine, For thy light is come, and the glory of the Most High is risen upon thee. So this light and this glory of the Most High God is risen. Is showing, that light is showing upon you. All right. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. Remember, this lesson is how to be a light in the darkness. For and without darkness, there is no light, right? Without dark, you need darkness for light to be shown. And then vice versa. Without no light, there is no darkness. How do I light something up if it's already lit? So they work together, right? For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. People should be able to see this light upon you. They should be able to say, it's something special about that brother. It's something different about that sister. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with that brother or that sister, but it's something special, right? That's seen upon you, right? By from the Most High. Verse 3, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and the kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see, all they gather themselves together. They come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. This part is about light being attractive. People are going to come from afar to be under you, right? And to learn from you and to have your light shine that darkness upon them. Then thou shalt see. You can't see without what? You can't see without light. Then shalt thou see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. Right? So just understand, whether you believe these are Gentiles or natural Gentiles, whether these are Israelite Gentiles, don't matter. The understanding is that the light is attractive. It's like a magnet, right? Again, that moth, that mosquito, that light is on, they gonna come to it from afar. That's the same thing we gotta be. All right. People should want to come to your light, not run from your wrath. Right. A lot of us teach with wrath, and there is no light. You're just wasting time. You're wasting everybody's time. People come out there to hear you speak and to hear you teach. They want to be inspired. People still holding posts. It's hot. It's cold. The sun's out. And now and then you wasting everybody's time by being this doggone dragon, being this crazy person that just know a lot of precepts, right? And you got backup. That's very easy. It's hard, but it's easy, right? If you get what I'm saying. How about not constantly arguing, instead and attract? How about we start try and find ways to attract? How do we make this truth more attractive? Right? How do you make your ministry more attractive? How do you make everything else? You got your Facebook, you make that attractive. You got your Instagram, you made that attractive. You found ways to make all these things to be attractive. But you know what you ain't making attractive? Your stake in this walk. What are you doing to loosen our captivity? And whatever you're doing, is it made with light? Is it made to be attractive? Light exposes without condemning. Remember, we're talking about newborn babes if they understand. I'm gonna say this again. Think about the process of what I'm about to say. Somebody you're trying to get into the truth. They don't really know they left from they right yet. You can't condemn right away because they don't know. And a lot of us go right into the condemnation process and skip everything else. We're not raising them up. We're not showing patience. We're not having the things that's necessary for that child, that spiritual child, to grow. And then we wondering why there's no growth. And then they out this truth and they back in the world. And a lot of it is because we never nourished them correctly. All right. So light exposes without condemnation. Let's get Ephesians 5 and 13. I think we read this earlier. We're going to read it again. Ephesians 5 and 13 says this, but all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light. For whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Right? So all things that are cleaned up because the light shone on that darkness. You're in sin. The light is the law. Okay. Because I comprehend the law, I know I can't do that anymore because of the light. And I didn't have to condemn that brother or condemn that sister for them to get it. It's a self-driving machine, right? You condemn yourself. I don't need someone else to condemn me because if I'm truly inspired by the law and the light, it's going to condemn me automatically. Okay? Let's get Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6 verse 12. This is Wisdom of Solomon 6 and 12. Wisdom is glorious and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her and found of such as seek her. Remember, we're talking about exposing the light without condemnation, but this also goes back to the attractiveness of that light. I'm not talking about how well you speak and what you're saying and how you sing and dance and rap. It's about what you're saying and in relation to someone bettering themselves. I never met anybody that don't want to get better. I never met anybody that said, "Nah, I want to regress, not progress." Right? So knowing that, we know that our words of wisdom, right, is easily seen by those who love wisdom, but it's also easily acknowledged by the people that want to get better. Okay? Teaching point. Teaching point, right? Our teaching should make people see the truth. It should make you see the truth, right? I like to do things sometimes with people where I let them figure it out. Like I influence them to figure something out and they think it's their idea, but I was influencing them to think that way, not like in a bad way, but just more so like I'm trying to help you see. And if it comes from you, it's easier for you to believe it than if it came from me, if that makes sense, right? Um, night light multiplies, right? Light multiplies, and this is going into next week, right? How do we make little light bearers from us, right? Let's get second Ezra 14:26. Light multiplies. Second Ezra 14 and verse 26 says, is that what I want? Yes. It says, and when thou hast done, some things shalt thou publish, and some things shalt thou show secretly to the wise. Tomorrow, this hour shalt thou begin to write. Right? So again, we're teaching others, right? Let's get Matthew 28 and 20. Let's get that real quick to the Great Commission. All right. But we're teaching others like I'm teaching people now, right? I'm teaching you right now on how to do this. We're also teaching others, and that's why we said like, subscribe, and share this video because we want other people to know how to properly get this message to people to where you really want them to spread it, right? It has to spread, right? Let's get Matthew 28 and 20. Let's get 19, right? Let's get 18. And Yahushua, Matthew 28 and 18. And Yahushua came and spake unto them, saying, all power, right? So let's look at this power as light. All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the ends of the world. Right? And then he says, Amen. Right? So again, the idea that Christ is saying is this light should be spread across the world, right? Teaching people to keep the commandments, laws, and statutes. Proverbs 6:23 tells you that that the law and the commandments are both light. All right. So to let your light so shine before men is teaching men and women how to be obedient. And in 2026, our job is harder because we're teaching them how to do this in America, right? In Babylon, in the teeth of the beast. All right. And I think we're doing the best we could, the best we can. Let's get Colossians 4 and 6. I don't have much longer. All right. Let's get Colossians 4 and 6. Start speeding it up a little bit. It's the book of Colossians, chapter 4, verse 6. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how you ought to answer every man. You can't answer every man the same way, right? Sometimes you got to have that grace seasoned with salt. Sometimes you got to be a little bit more direct and authoritative. But either way, you understand that your speech is given with grace, seasoned with salt on how to answer every man. All right, let's get Ecclesiasticus 5 and 13. All right, this is Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 5 and 13. Honor and shame is in talk. Honor and shame, whether you have honor or you have shame, these fools open their mouth and talk, or the wise open his mouth and talk, right? Is in talk, and the tongue of a man is his fall. All right. So honor and shame and how you conduct yourself is in your tongue, how you speak. What are you saying to people? Are you cussing all the time? Are you in your lessons and you're cussing and all these different curse words are coming out because you can't find the right word, so you got to find a curse word that may turn people off. It's hard to catch people that's 2/3 trying to get them to come in this truth, and you're cussing every 15 minutes, saying swear words. You had a bad sense of humor, nasty sense of humor. These things turn people off. It turns them away. And we'll be honest. Okay. Conduct. How do we conduct ourselves? Let's get First Peter 2 and 2. How do we conduct yourself? What's your conduct? What's your integrity like? What you doing when no one's looking? What are some of the things that people say about you that live with you? Let's get First Peter 2 and 2. As newborn, let me get verse 1. Wherefore, lying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies, we were just talking about that, hypocrisies and envies and all evil speakings. I know we have this idea that, well, if it's not in the law, if it's not in the Torah, then I can say it or I can convey this speech. But is that wise? Again, we want to be know-it-alls, but do we want to give the light to the people and humble ourselves down to our audience? You can't be in lessons cussing everybody out, and you got older women around, young kids around, and you hope they get it. Some words are made just for the men. Some ways we convey messages is just for the men, and that's to stay with the men. Some of this stuff we got to learn how to be more empathetic in how we deliver the message. It'll never get to somebody if they're taken aback by your evil speakings. Read that again. Wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies, and we're all guilty of this, right? And envies and all evil speakings as newborn babes, which a lot of us were at one time. Some of us still are newborn babes. You can't give a newborn babe harsh words. They just not gonna be able to survive, right? Get over it. Become a man. Hurry up and grow up. This, that, and the third. You're not gonna have that baby survive. Right? You got to be versatile. If you only have one way of speaking, if you only got one way of teaching this Bible, then you need to sit down. You need to sit down and learn how to teach properly, right? What I mean by that is how to be versatile in your speech. Sometimes you got to be able to roar on somebody. Sometimes you got to be able just to be able to empathize and sit back and listen. That's only if you want them to get it. Now, if you want to be a know-it-all and have the wow factor, then that's one thing. That's on you. But some of us need to learn how to convey this message so that somebody can get it and love it and understand it and cherish it instead of just being offended, right? As newborn babes, desiring the sincere milk of the word. We got to get that. That's part of the light, is delivering sincere milk, that ye may grow thereby. If so, be ye have tasted that the Lord is gracious. And we're going to get into the sincerity of this as well. So, our conduct, okay, how to live, okay, that was First Peter 2 and 2, among these Gentiles. Your presence, right? Your presence. You come around, people happy to see you. Are they inspired? Are you an inspiration? Are you a beacon of hope against the are you a beacon of hope of resistance against these entities that are made to destroy us? Or are people turned off when you walk in the room? Let's get Proverbs 16:24 through the spirit. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and healeth to the bones. People don't teach this no more, right? People wonder why the Christian church is so popular. It's because that pastor is charismatic. He's teaching lies, yeah, but his charisma, he's charismatic on how he delivers his message. And there you go, right? If you can couple how they teach versus what we teach, we'll be in good shape. If I can convey this Bible, the truth of this Bible, in the same charismatic way as this TD Jakes or Creflo Dollar or whoever, we be in good shape. But a lot of us, we don't have that yet. We're not trained. We don't have the sincere milk. Our words are not as sweet as a honeycomb. And read it again. Pleasant words. Okay. Pleasant, let me give 23. The heart or the mind of the wise teacheth his mouth. So you got to be able to get better on how to speak. You got to invest in yourself. Look at investment in your ministry is learning how to speak properly, how to speak with enthusiasm, with some sort of love behind it, right? Invest in that. It says the heart of the wise teacheth his mouth and addeth learning to his lips. Are we doing anything to help how we speak? What are you doing to say, okay, I want to be able to teach this book better? Well, let me learn, let me invest, let me get these apps. Everything is at your fingertips, right? Everything is at your fingertips. It's a lot easier now to learn how to be a more efficient and effective teacher, right? You don't have the same excuses as these guys back then. All right. So the heart of the wise teaches his mouth and addeth learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and healeth to the bones. This light, like we said last week, light heals. This teaching, this light conveyance must be made to heal our people. The trauma that we've experienced for 4, 5, 600 years is going to have a lasting impact. If someone comes as a beacon of hope, you're going to be a lot more of a better teacher. You're going to be a lot more equipped to handle hecklers and scoffers. You're going to be a lot more at ease at the end of your teaching. Okay. All right, let's move on. We got a lot more to cover. We almost done. Um, your discipline. All right, your discipline. Let's get 1 Corinthians 9:27. Are we disciplined? Right? I said earlier how it's a right envious, right? It's a righteous envious about brothers and sisters that can wake up, go to CrossFit, wake up, go run 6 miles at 4 in the morning, and then start their day. I'm envious of that. I want to get that, right? Um, and so what I'm saying is discipline. If someone come to me and said, "Hey, you want to learn how to do this, that, and the third, wake up, follow me, let's do this work." You see what I'm saying? And that becomes that self-control or that discipline allows me to say, "Out, it's infectious as well. I want to be like that person," right? Um, this is verse 27. But I keep under my body and bring it unto subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. Right? That was First Corinthians 9 and 27. Right? So that self control, whether it's your appetite, right? Emotions, you want to lose weight. You talk to somebody that lost 120 pounds in about a year. You not listening to that person? They don't have your attention, right? You want to learn how to shoot a 3-point shot and you get a chance to talk to these basketball players, Steph Curry, you not going to listen to them? Why? Right? Because they have that discipline, you are. Because they have results, you going to listen, right? Emotions, right? You got to have self-control over your emotions, your habits, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, right? Self-control, all right? Next point, your service. Very important. Another important one, right? Listen up. Let's get Matthew 20 and 26. Let's get the book of Matthew, chapter 20, verse 26. All right, your service. Listen, let me ask people this. It's a rhetorical question, obviously. Obviously, it's a rhetorical question, but ask yourself this. Am I a service to my people? Right? Am I a service to my people? You look at a politician, they are a public servant. You know, the cop, police officer, they're supposed to be public servants. As Israelites, are you a public servant? Are you living for the two-thirds? Are you in this thing because you want to, are you in this thing because you want to get glory and fame? A lot of this stuff, you're not going to see anything from it financially. You're probably going to spend money more than make money, right? It's not about that. Are you a public servant? All right, let's get Matthew 20 and 26. Watch this. But it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. Matter of fact, let's get 25. But Yahweh called them unto him and said, Ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. So the opposite, we're going to flip that, right? All these people that are great, actually, the ones that are lowly, the humble, the meek, those are the ones that are really driving this ship. We're the ones, and I hope I'm one of them, right? Lord willing, we're the ones that's really driving this boat. We're making this thing go, right? But we're not getting paid. A lot of turmoil, a lot of flack, a lot of back talk, and all the things that come with it on the negative side. We got to burden that burden. We gotta carry that burden and still go to work and raise our children and be a husband to our wives and be a good son, be a good daughter, be a good brother, be a good uncle. All right. And verse 27, whosoever will be chief among you, let him let him be your servant. Right? We would be chief among the people who don't know, and we still got to be a servant. We still got to be a servant. We got to be a servant to our people, right? Everybody don't want to be a servant. Everybody want to be served. Everybody serve me, kiss my boots, right? Walk my, go park my car and pull my car around. Everybody wants to have that idea of royalty, and you are royalty, but you must first be a servant before you can be a leader. You got to learn to be a backup quarterback before you get out there on the field and lead your team to victory. You just don't come out and just go win games. You gotta learn first. All right. Look at verse 28. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. So the same way, a lot of us got some nerve thinking that we some type of mega church pastor and this idea that we are should be carried on some sort of high and mighty exaltation. No, Yahweh said, unlike these other guys, these Gentiles, we must also be servants, public servants, here for the people, right? Working for free, right? Working long. How many of us want to work for free for this kingdom? Do you see yourself working for free to get to the kingdom, or somebody got to pay you? All right. Things to think about. Greatness comes through service. Greatness comes through serving. Let's get the book of Tobit, chapter 12, verse 8. All praises to the Most High. Hopefully, y'all enjoying this class. All right, as I'm enjoying this class. I know that. Tobit 12, and I'm learning something, even though I was able to come up with it through the Spirit. Um, I'm always learning something, man. All praises. This is Tobit 12 and 8. Prayer is good with fasting and alms and righteousness. What's alms? Right? Giving. A little with righteousness is better than much with unrighteousness. It is better to give alms than to lay up gold. How many of us is giving a spiritual or even a physical alm, an actual, right? Monies. For alms doth deliver from death. Let me read that again. For alms doth deliver from death and shall purge away all sin. Those that exercise alms and righteousness shall be filled with life. Why are they saying that? Why is it that alms deliver from death? Right? Because you're a servant, you're giving yourself the same way Christ gave his life for his brothers and sisters, his Israelites, right? It's the same way that we must also what? Give to our people. All right? Help without expecting return. How about that? Help without expecting return. All praises. Calvin Baylor said he's been doing this for 50 something years. All praises. Oh, get that brother a hand, right? Get that brother a hand. Doing something for 50 years, anything for 50 years is hard. Let alone dealing with our people. All right, that ain't easy. That is not easy. All right. The example of that is staying calm in conflicts, right? Oh, wait, hold on. That's the wrong. Hold on. All right. Boom. Boom. Last part. Home stretch. All right. Warning. Warning, y'all, right? Warning. How does light get dimmed? How many times have we went on Facebook and the brother got his name again, right? You know, Michael, whatever. He's back to being Mike again. He said, I'm no longer a Hebrew Israelite. I'm out this truth. You don't see him at the feast days no more. You don't see her at the high holy days no more. She's slipped off and fell, right? It happens. It's happening right now, right? It's sifting season. It's sifting season. In my experience, every high holy day or every feast day, and any day, right? Someone's falling out this truth. They're sifted out. All right. So how does light get dimmed? How does your light get dimmed? Well, you hide it. Remember, Yahweh said in Matthew 5:15, don't hide it under a bushel. Let's get that again. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. If you're not doing this, the Lord will blow the fire out. Matter of fact, let's get this in Luke. I think it's what I want. Going off script a little bit, but hopefully my mind serves me well. Here we go. This is Luke 3 and 8. Bring forth therefore fruits worthy of repentance, and begin not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you that God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Every tree, therefore, which bringeth forth not good fruits, is hewn down and cast into the fire. So a lot of us, we come out this truth. We're no longer in this walk. We found ourselves back in the world because our works were never sincere. We didn't have fruits worthy of repentance. We lost the service side. We stopped doing things for the love of our people, and we started doing things for a fee. We started doing things for likes and subscriptions and all the things that come with it. We stopped doing it for the love of the game, so to speak, right? Those that play sports know what I'm talking about. You would go out there and play ball because you love to play ball. Now you got, hey, I got to get paid, right? Which, I understand that. But when it comes to this truth, that I don't understand. When it comes to this understanding as a teacher, I don't get how we can just make it to where you got to pay me to get this understanding, right? Not this truth, not when you just came in it 6, 7, 8 years ago. Your job is to put this thing out there and be a servant as much as you can. You got guys that just came in this walk and they want to charge you. Meanwhile, we got brothers doing it for 50 years and they still doing it the right way. They not asking you for $1. They doing it the right way. All right. We all need to be like that brother Calvin Baylor. All right. Love that brother, man. Let's get Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 21 and 14. All right. This is a classic right here. This is how your light get dimmed. You everywhere. You can't sit down. You in everybody's business. You're stirring up stuff on social media, right? You're finding ways to get relevant the wrong way. You stop being a servant. You stop service. All right. And you want to go back and now you out in the world. Why is that? This is Ecclesiasticus 21 and 14. It says, the inner parts of a fool are like a broken vessel, and he will hold no knowledge as long as he liveth. Let me ask y'all a question. Can a broken vessel hold water? A broken vessel can't hold water. A broken vessel can't hold anything. It's good for nothing. I'm going to read it again. One of my biggest brothers in my camp know this, in YAHAWAH'S camp. One of the things I hate the most is something that's made to do something and it don't do that. Right? I got a pen. This pen has ink and I write and ink comes out. As soon as this pen no longer produces ink, it's good for nothing. I cannot wait to throw it out. You know why? Because you're not doing the job that you were supposed to do. A lot of us come out this truth because we stopped doing the job we were supposed to do. A lot of sisters stopped doing the job they were supposed to do. A lot of the brothers stopped doing it. And or they was never doing it the right way, right? They were doing it for the wrong reason. A lot of brothers go to camp because they upset. Oh, we're gonna talk about that, right? You upset with life, so you go to camp to get something off your chest. And the way that you display it is to make somebody else feel bad. Because hurt people hurt people. You don't need to be on that mic. You don't need to be teaching if you having a bad week and you want to go out there and just air your chest out. No. Right? I'm gonna read this part again. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 21 and 14 says, the inner parts of a fool, the inner parts is the mind, right? Of a fool are like a broken vessel, and he will hold no knowledge as long as he liveth. That's the downfall. Let's get 1 John 1 and 6. That's how it starts, right? You're all over the place. You're involved with a whole lot. You're not studying. You're not reading. You're not doing what you need to be doing, right? And you find yourself doing the opposite. This is 1 John 1 and 6. If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth, right? Let's get verse 5. Look at verse 5. Watch this, y'all. This then is the message which ye have heard of him, and declare unto you that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. We talking about the light. There's no darkness at all. If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, God is light, we walking in darkness, and we telling everybody we got fellowship with the Most High, we lie and do not the truth. But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Hamashiach Yahawashi, his son, cleanseth us from all sin. I'm asking y'all, let's start cleaning our stuff up so that we can properly give this understanding, properly give this light, and do it the right way, right? Without the idea of hypocrisy or pride or lack of discipline clouding over us and coming over us, right? All praises, right? All praises. Um, Last little bit. Teach with sincerity. We got to teach with sincerity. Let's get 2 Corinthians 2 and 17. Teaching with sincerity. Are you teaching for the people to get it or not? 2 Corinthians 2 and 17 says this: For we are not as many which corrupt the word of God. Remember during that time in Corinth, one of the problems with the churches where you had a whole bunch of other writers that were corrupting the word of God. This is a little history in the church of Corinth in Thessalonica. I believe Thessalonica or Thessalonians were receiving letters from Paul that wasn't written by Paul. They were plagiarized. So people were plagiarizing or corrupting the word of the Most High by writing or or writing things that were incorrectly, teaching incorrectly, not really giving this light, right? Not giving the true light. So Paul says in verse 17, for we are not as many. A lot of people were corrupting the word of the Most High God. But as of sincerity, but as of God, in the sight of God, we speak in Hamashiach, right? We speak in Hamashiach. That's how you're supposed to teach with sincerity, right? Not like everybody else that's corrupting it because they want to, you want to have your own doctrine. You teach the truth, teach it the correct way. All right. We speak in Hamashiach. All right. So some teach for gain, like views, right? That's what we're talking about. This is not a performance. Let the Christian pastors do all the performing. All right. We teach very clean, very sound, very direct. Let's get 1 Timothy 4 and 12. Right now, we're just going through the sincerity part. This is the last part of this whole second part of this how we convey this truth in darkness. All right, this is 1 Timothy 4 and 12, Salaki. It says, let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, and purity. All right. Let me read that again. Let no man despise thy youth. Paul is saying, let no man despise how you receive this information. That's your youth. How you're growing up. Let no man discourage you from this. A lot of our brothers and sisters with fringes on is on that corner, discouraging people in this truth in their youth. I always say my job is to go out there and plant a seed. If I can cultivate a seed to harvest and for it to grow, great. But if you leave, the way what I'm teaching and you mad at me, it's got to be something wrong with you. It's got to be something wrong with you. My job ain't to rile you up, right? My job is to make sure that you understand it fully, and then moving forward, you can make your decision whether it's right or wrong. But you can't say that Yahweh's camp ain't teach you right. This verse 12 says, "Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers." You got to be an example to these believers. A lot of our brothers pride themselves on how long they've been in this walk, but are you an example to the believer in word and how you speak? We talked about that earlier. how you carry yourself in conversation, in charity. Are you giving? Are you a servant? That's charity, right? In spirit, in faith, and in purity. All right. So be a man of your word. Be a woman of your word. Let's get James 3 and 17. James 3 and 17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure. So the wisdom that we all receive from the Most High God, right? Then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in the peace of them that make peace. We got to be more peacemakers, right? The water, right? All praises. Hey, all praise to the Most High. We got to be more peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, right? Not the brothers that's condemning everybody. Yeah, yeah. I don't see that. We're not there. A lot of our brothers that are hell bent on condemning everybody, brother, you just came in this walk. You just showed up. The Most High been around for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You came around within the last what, 5 years, 6 years, and you got this condemnation idea. You condemning everybody, bro. You better be happy you alive, right? Somebody says I'm twisting the scriptures. Paul was a minister of the Gentiles. You guys have removed a whole lot of scriptures. Where, wow. What Derek Robinson. I don't even know if you've been watching this lesson. This lesson has nothing to do with Gentiles. I think you're here for the wrong reason, sir. Right? We're here to teach people how to teach people. All praises. So if you got any questions on how to teach people, then you in the right room. But if your job is to stir things up, please just stop the typing and just listen. All right. James 3 and 17. We just read that. I'm gonna read it again. James 3 and 17 says this: even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. All right. Don't teach to be liked. All right. Doctrine must be sound. Right. Even, oh, I'm sorry, I was 2 and 17. 3 and 17 says this: but the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good. See, this word, this edification should be easily absorbed, should be easily digestible, shouldn't take a whole lot of wrestling with each other. Not like this Derek Robinson who just comes in and tries to crash the party. We're easily dividing the word of the Most High God. But that wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, all right, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in the peace of them that make peace. Right? We are here just to make peace with our brothers and sisters. We're here to make peace with our people so that our doctrine is sound. All right, let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 6. All praises. Let's get Wisdom, chapter 1, verse 6. And it says this: for wisdom is a loving spirit, and will not acquit a blasphemer of his words. For God is witness of his reigns, and a true beholder of his heart, and a hearer of his tongue. All right. So Most High is not just hearing words, but examining the intent. What is your intent? Derek, what is your intent on coming down here and talking about something that has nothing to do with the title of his lesson? It's a three-part series. We're in part 2, and you're talking about something that has nothing to do with this lesson. You just here to conjure up stuff, right? He says, never that God is the judge. Stop talking about Christian. Peace be still. Wow. All right, we're going to continue to move on because clearly this person is in the wrong spirit. Derek, you're in the wrong spirit. Clean that self up. Clean yourself up, sir. All right. Sincere teaching requires truth. Okay. Sincere teaching requires truth. Sincere teaching requires accountability to God, not people. You're not accountable to another person. You're accountable to the Most High God. That's sincere teaching. Sincere teaching requires consistency. All right. Not just doing it for 2, 3 years. Be like our brother Calvin. Dedicate your life to this, right? Sincere teaching requires that your mind must believe what you teach. That's what sincere teaching requires. That you actually got to buy into what you're putting out, what you're teaching. All right. So in closing, all right, in closing, light isn't what you know. All right. Light isn't just what you know. It's what people experience when they encounter you. Let's just think about that. I'm gonna say it again. Light isn't what you know, and the conveyance of light isn't what you know. It's what people experience when they encounter you. When they have a conversation with you, when they encounter you. I talk to brothers all the time. I talk to sisters all the time. They don't believe what I believe, but they have a good experience when we talk to each other about this Bible, right? Can you spark inspiration? That's a question I want everybody to leave with tonight. Everybody, I want you to leave with this question tonight. Answer this question. Can you spark inspiration? Can you spark clarity? And can you spark conviction? All right. I'm Captain Ram of YAHAWAH'S Camp. Hopefully, this was an edifying lesson. I want to give all praises, glory, and all honor to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Yahweh Shai. Hopefully, the video was edifying. All right, next week, all right, we're going to conclude this 3-part lesson. Next week, we're going to go into, how we can influence others to also be light bearers as well. All right. Most High will, I'm able to be there with y'all to do this lesson. With that, I say shalom, shalom, shalom. Love y'all, Israel. To then, see you next time.